C.S. Lewis, in The Magician's Nephew, writes this interesting line where he says, "For what you see and hear depends a good deal on where you're standing. It also depends on what sort of person you are." Think about that for a second. What you see and what you hear, it really depends on where you're looking from. This is kind of an obvious statement. If you're, let's say, with a group of people on the beach, you see each other's faces and you're talking to them. But if you're a mile away on a cliff, you may barely see what's going on. You may just see a couple figures. You might think it's a statue, and you could misinterpret the whole situation. That part probably makes sense to us. But what might not make sense to us is what C.S. Lewis says, that it depends on what kind of person you are. In the context of the book The Magician's Nephew, Aslan had just created the Narnia, the cosmos of Narnia, and he had brought to life speaking animals. They had moved from a brutish and non-reasoning existence into a non-brutish and reasoning existence. They became rational animals, you might say. But meanwhile, Uncle Andrew is watching them. And while Aslan sings this beautiful song of creation, and there's goodness and power and majesty and beauty, he himself shies away from it, moves further and further away from it, therefore can't hear and can't see it as clearly. And yet he's the kind of person that finds nothing outside of himself to be worthwhile and beautiful, because all that he cares about is his own ego, his own selfishness. And as he does this, it becomes more and more like what he perceives, or he thinks he sees at least. For he can't hear the animals even speaking words. They speak to him like animals because he assumes they can't be speaking animals. Aslan to him is just a mere lion, not the creator of Narnia. He becomes a brute, even though, like he assumes the animals are, and he cannot hear the rational discourse of the animals. He cannot see the beauty of creation, the wonder of the song of creation. And he's closed off to this reality because he's so used to our world, his world, that when he sees the lion, he can only think of him as a lion in our world. When he sees the animals, they're only like an animal in our world. He's unable, constitutionally, due to his self-centeredness, due to his, we might say, evil, to see the good and beauty of the world around him. This actually connects to an old and venerable and ancient idea that I'm sure C.S. Lewis knew very well. I'm sure it's present in authors like Athanasius, which I know that Lewis did read. And the idea is that you can see truth more clearly based on the kind of person that you are. If truth is associated with goodness and reality, what is truly true? Like justice accords with reality, so that's good. But if you if you're someone who really knows how the real world works, knows justice really well, you'll see it. You'll be more in sharper focus. You'll have 20/20 vision. But if you pursue injustice, you'll never really know fully what justice is. You'll be looking at justice from the point of view of an observer a mile away on a cliff. Because you're the kind of person who loves injustice, you'll never really be able to see what true justice is. Anyone who's never experienced true love knows that you don't really know true love until you experience it. But once you do, you realize what it truly is. So you have to be the kind of person who can know love so that you can see and hear love. The kind of person that knows justice so that you can see and hear justice. The kind of person that knows goodness so that you can see and hear goodness. It really does change the world around you. It's the difference between looking at the world and being a cynic and thinking that everything is awful, there's no goodness, there's no beauty. You walk into a room, it's beautiful and clean, but there's one little stain on the wall and all you can do is focus on that singular stain. It's the difference between someone who lives that way and someone who looks into that same room and realizes, wow, the majority of this is beautiful. The work in here is splendid. The art on the walls is beautiful and it draws me to it. It's the kind of person who knows goodness, expects goodness, sees goodness in the little things and the big things. It changes how you view the world because you yourself have changed. You are the kind of person that can see love joy, peace, thankfulness, justice, goodness, and beauty in the world. And this is so important because many people live today without purpose. I was having a conversation today where the person I was talking with talked about the survey about why men go to work, and the vast majority of people said they have no idea why they go to work. There's no reason to go. You just go. You're sort of an unreasoning animal, just like Uncle Andrew. You go, have no reason to be there, except to survive. It's an animal instinct. It's not a deeper truth. It just changes everything about how you experience life. You no longer just get by, but when you walk outside, you look at a tree and you see the leaves in bloom and you see the sun and moon and stars and you gaze at the beauty of these things and you're drawn into wonder. Your soul is almost pushing out from your body and experiencing the world around you in new and fresh ways. Every morning you could wake up and see the goodness of the world around you and be refreshed by that, because we're not just a biological machine that if you get enough food, enough carbohydrates, enough protein, enough fat, etc., you can just run. But there's something more to you. There's something beyond space, beyond time, beyond matter, beyond what you can see, touch, and feel. We all sort of intuit this. There's a reason why you can just be down and not know why. And if you think it's important to feed your body healthy food and to give your body healthy exercise and to give your body adequate sleep, how much more important would it be to feed and nourish your soul? For if you are an irreducible union of body and soul and you only feed one aspect of who you are but not the other, the fullness of what you are will always be corrupted, will always be deficient, will always be not what it ought to be. And so I think we need to not be like Uncle Andrew. We need to be like Diggory and Polly, who were able to be close and to hear the music of Aslan, to see the animals come to life, to look around and see the beauty of the universe, and to hear its song, and to gaze upon its beauty, so that one day we could say, there's only one thing that I long for, and that's to gaze at the truest of all beauties, and to inquire in his temple.